Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. A rental nightmare in Raleigh was solved by Five on Your Side. The Branson family rented a home that turned out to be the scene of a triple shooting. It was shocking, to say the least. Five on Your Side's Keely Arthur will have that story Thursday at 6 and joins me to talk about how she got them a refund and how you can protect yourself from these situations. Keely, thanks for being here.
Thanks for talking with me.
Yeah, so this is a wild story that you have coming up. So who are the Branson family and why were they in need of this rental in the first place?
Right. So these are Raleigh residents who booked a vacation rental in Raleigh, and that is because they had a plumbing disaster. Their home was essentially destroyed because of running water, and they needed to be out of the house for like 2 or 3 weeks, 3 months, I should say, as the company worked to fix everything. Their insurance agent said, look, the best way to get into a temporary home quickly is to book via Vrbo or Airbnb, and they gave them the money to do that. Obviously, if anyone's gone through something where you've been displaced, you know you want the normalcy, you want a new space right away. And so they booked on Vrbo. They did, as I write in our story, the same amount of vetting any one of us have done to book a Vrbo or an Airbnb. He liked what he saw in the pictures. He talked to the host a little bit, and he booked. And then he showed up there, and it looked very different than what the photos showed.
Right. And I think all of us, when we are looking at Airbnb or Vrbo, there's a certain amount of legitimacy that you give to those websites and just kind of assume, okay, well, if it's on these websites, it should be fine.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he gets to the house, what does he find compared to the pictures in the listing?
So the listing in the photos in the listing, it just looked like a clean, normal 2-3 bedroom home. And it wasn't extravagant, but it was nice enough. And then when he went into the house, they had broken blinds, and then on the windowsill, there were shards of glass. And he has 2 kids and a dog. Like, he can't have that. And then he went into the garage. There were bagged trash bags, like tied up. So it wasn't that the trash was all over, but I mean, clearly it was kind of halfway cleaned. And then there were cigarette butts, and he smelled, he said, a lot of cigarette smoke.
Yeah, and normally with those kind of rentals, I feel like you're not supposed to smoke. You come in, it's very clean, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at that point he's like, okay, something's up. So assuming he then called the host, like what happened from there?
Yeah, so he was in there, he said, for all of 10 minutes. He knew immediately. He said he didn't even let his family come into the house. He knew immediately this was not where they were going to stay and that he needed to go through the steps to get a refund and get into a new place. So he messaged the Vrbo host, and he said, interestingly, that you can't attach photos within the app. You have to go onto a desktop to communicate with Vrbo that way and show photos. So he's trying to say these things are happening, and then there's no photos to back it up. So he had to go back to his hotel, use his laptop to send the photos of the cigarette butts, the broken blinds, the shards of glass. And then the company, the host, right away basically said, we're going to get a cleaner and we're going to fix this and you'll be ready to go tomorrow. And he thought, no way. The damage is too vast for a one-day fix. This has already been a terrible situation. We can get into this a little bit more, but I do want to say, Vrbo, as you said, it seems like a legitimate company. It's like essentially an online marketplace, and you would think that the places that are being listed there are vetted. And they have something called a book with confidence guarantee. And the language in there basically says that if the home is represented way different than what it really is, then you should get an automatic refund. So he talked to Vrbo about that, but Vrbo essentially said because they believed this was minimal damage, they thought the trash and the broken blinds was minimal enough that it didn't fall under that book with confidence guarantee. So neither the host nor Vrbo would give him. It was $5,940 back, and he needed that to pay for the next rental.
Right. Okay, let's take a quick break right there. When we come back, we'll talk about what happened when you got involved in this. So, Keely, the Branson family, they find this Vrbo. It's not what they were expecting when they booked. They want this refund. It's not getting anywhere. How did they get in touch with you?
So they emailed 5 on Your Side. There are a few ways to get a hold of us, but I always say the best thing to do is, you can Google, it's on our website, but you can Google like 5 on Your Side WRAL complaint form. Fill that out. Be concise, be succinct, and if it's something that we think we can get involved with, we do, and that's exactly what happened in this situation. I mean, it was clear. He did not get what he paid for, and we stepped in on his behalf, but Vrbo came back to us and basically said it just doesn't meet the level of problems, like damage, I should say, that would trigger the book with confidence guarantee. We work on stories all the time that kind of have like choke points, and then something will happen or we'll do more vetting, and then there'll be a break in the story. But in this case, Dave Branson, the person who was the renter, the guy that we've been talking about this whole time, he started just Googling. I mean, he was like a dog with a bone. So he started Googling the address and trying to find everything he could about the rental company and the property itself. And what he did find was something on our website, and it was that there had been a shooting at that location. It was like the people had been shot, I think, outside, but there were 3 people who had been shot. And I filed for the police incident report, and right on that incident report, it's the same address. So this house was the scene of a crime about 3 weeks before Mr. Branson booked.
Wow.
Once we pointed out that to Vrbo, then they got involved and they made things right.
Okay. And so what did that kind of look like? I mean, obviously giving the refund, but I mean, is this property still listed on Vrbo?
Yeah, so I'll just go back quickly to kind of the resolution. I mean, I think for everybody, just make sure you have documentation of everything, and like that's always what makes the change. We sent them a link to our story about the shooting and said this happened. And then there was also reports that the shooting occurred because of a party. And so, suddenly the broken glass, the cigarette butts, all of those things make a lot more sense. And then Vrbo right away, they don't want maybe the bad press. That's usually why a lot of things get fixed because they weren't fixing it before. And they, issued the refund, I think, almost within a day.
The property is not listed on Vrbo at this point,
That's right, yeah.
Is it listed anywhere else?
So you're getting a little bit of a scoop here because I work on this. I already started working on it. So the host, a lot of rental companies list on Vrbo and Airbnb. So it's not like, Grace Holland's house, it's some Holland rental company or whatever. And so I started Googling them. They have their own listing site. So that house is still very much listed on that company's website. That's Quantum Suites. And they seem to only rent out things from North Carolina and California. Also, Google the address. It's on Zillow. So this is still a property that is up and available for people to rent. And I don't think, people really know what has happened there. I reached out to the person who was listed as the host within Quantum Suites. And I said, and he's who Dave Branson spoke with. And I asked what steps they took to fix the home, to ensure that it was ready to go, and what assurances can they make to a potential renter. And they wrote back, no comment. So knowledge is power, and I do want people to know that this property still is available, and I don't know what it looks like inside, but I do know that when one person had an issue with it, they had a really difficult time getting a professional and reasonable resolution.
Right. And, we're glad that he was able to get that in the end.
The $5,940 back in his pocket.
We love that. That's what we always want to hear. But, a lot of people probably hear this, and, this was even a special case because this, even though it was a situation where he needed his family to get into a rental quickly, fairly local, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you're looking for rentals like this, and maybe it's for vacation, and you're not able to do much more vetting than these sites. What can people do to protect themselves, from ending up in this situation, and what can they do if they find themselves in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what did he do to fix this, he had the address. So that's really the key. And it's hard because Airbnb and Vrbo, they don't give you the address until after you book. So there are things that you can do to get around that. I mean, look on Google Maps. I mean, you can see pretty clearly and click around. Click around on whatever the marketplace is, Vrbo or Airbnb, and then cross-reference on Google. Once you have that address, I want you to Google it. I want you to Google the host. Like I said, a lot of times it's companies. Go on the Better Business Bureau. If people have had terrible situations with the host, they're probably going to say it somewhere, maybe Reddit, Better Business Bureau. You can look at the host ratings. So having that address, though, is key. And in lieu of that, ask the host questions. You know, they don't want to rent to somebody that is going to damage their property. You don't want to enter into an agreement with somebody that has a damaged property. So make sure you're asking them, like, when's the last time it was cleaned? What's the area like that we're going to? Is there a lot of crime? Has there been crime at this house? Like, ask them more pointed questions. It can be uncomfortable, but I was looking at the correspondence between Dave and Quantum Suites. They're asking him for his ID, why he's staying here, all these questions. And you should be doing just the same amount of vetting as they are of you.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Keely. We appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and for making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. That's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.